We're back, bro.
Yes, sir.
It's been a little bit of time.
I think we're back by popular demand. So
yeah. Hey, for all the viewers too, yo, this is gonna be a really educational type of, informational type of episode. Very special episode. As you guys can see, we are in a brand new studio.
Yeah,
so we have
out. New
new seats. Really excited, man. The evolution of the podcast has been dope. Yeah. Last podcast, obviously, we covered a lot of the past guests that we've had. Mm-hmm. Had a great event about a week ago with Jose.
Shout out to everybody that came too.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that came, man. It was a great event.
That was epic. Yeah.
Yeah, on this episode, guys, we're going to be talking about an ERC program, what it is, what's going on right now with a lot of business owners, what type of relief programs are out there. Very informational. But before we get into that, we always like to start off with a couple of events that are coming up. The Latino Hustle pop-up is going to be on April 15th. A lot of sponsors, vendors for the event. It's going to be dope. City of Anaheim, as always. And then
in case that already comes out after the event, then at least you're hearing it now, how much hype there is really around it. So there's going to be a part 2. Yeah. So if you're not hearing it, you don't go, then get ready for the part 2. You
definitely want to be there for the part 2. We have some dope stuff coming up with our buddy Miguel on leadership. So shout out to that one. We got some stuff cooking with the chef himself. But anyways, nonetheless, let's go ahead and get into this ERC stuff. We have a very special guest, Natalye Lopez, coming in from here locally in the IE, from Rancho Cucamonga, California. And she's going to be really breaking it down for a lot of our Latino business owners, really any business owners, on what the ERC program is and how it could benefit you, right? So without further ado, let's intro Miss Natalye Lopez. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and grateful to be here.
First podcast
ever.
Hey,
so
shout out.
I should have got a little bit more dressed up, but it's okay.
No,
it's
you
fine.
Look great.
We're here.
First podcast, but everybody knows you.
Yeah.
Right. You're well known because you do great work.
Thank you.
And we would love to know a little bit about what you do.
Okay, a little bit about my background. I started in the banking industry, and I think that's where the passion for helping small business owners came from. And as a small business owner, I personally as well, I realized that they wear so many hats, and it's very difficult for them to tackle on new projects. And when they don't have the right team, it's hard for their business to grow. And when they don't have the right team, it becomes a little bit of a nightmare, every day running a business. And that's where the passion came in for me to assist. And that came from loans, from grants, and anything, especially during COVID, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And that's the background of that I have of why I started doing what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the ERC program is something that's very big, right? And we really want to highlight on relief for businesses, because a lot of businesses, are obviously going through some volatile type of markets, right? Stock market's going up and down, real estate market, people don't know what's going on, right? Every industry's kind of shaking up a little bit, and people aren't spending as much money as they were at least 2 or 3 years ago, right? So, employer retention credit is something big, and that's obviously what we want to talk about today. So can you kind of break down a little bit directly about what is the ERC program, who qualifies, and who's it really for?
Okay, so ERC stands for Employment Retention Credit, and the best way to explain it is that it was a credit that was given to an employer for retaining their employees during COVID. It's an excellent program because it gives you a credit, which by credit I mean a check, that will be mailed directly to the business owner for them to utilize as they please. One of the main things that I like to point out that a lot of people think they don't qualify is because a certain amount of employees. I deal with a lot of small business owners that have maybe 3 to 4 employees, and because of this massive marketing that's going on, they feel like they don't qualify, which is not true. They definitely do qualify. I'm going to do 3 facts right now. One of them is you don't have a minimum as long as the owners are not on payroll. The second thing, a lot of businesses, their revenue increased, but there was a lot of restrictions that they had to abide by to continue to be in business because of COVID. That's one of the reasons they qualify. There's over 2,000 reasons why a business, depending on the industry, would qualify. And I just want everybody who has a business and employees to really, in a sense, fight for their credit. These funds are running out, and it's money that is due to the business owner for paying out payroll taxes.
That's something key to mention. You said they are running out, so this is not forever.
No, the time frame the IRS gave a 3-year window for you to apply for the ERC, and the first credit was given on Q2 of 2020, which is March, April, May, and the end of the second quarter. That's when we can no longer qualify for a certain quarter. And as time passes, each quarter diminishes for you to qualify for.
Oh wow!
So it's important this is a time-sensitive program. Will not be on the table for a while. So it's really important for us to aggressively just let everybody know that they're entitled to this credit.
Now, you said we're talking about qualifications, who qualifies, who doesn't. I think a big myth out there where a lot of people are saying that, you got to have 5 employees. Right. What's the maximum or what's the minimum employees that somebody could qualify for?
Great question. So I've done the ERC for a business owner that had 1 employee.
Now, could that employee be the owner?
No.
So it has to be just one person on payroll?
Right. So there's they can't be the owners or direct family members. And the reason, that's another thing that I like to talk about that I'm glad you brought up. So the reason why they are strict about family members is because they do not want a business owner to mysteriously all of a sudden have employees that happen to be family members. But in my opinion, if you've run a business for 20 years that is family owned, that have been working, it's worth fighting for, to push to get your credit. They're not exempt because they're family members, but the IRS needs to protect their funds from people that do take advantage of the system. And that's why it's really important to push to that. Yeah, you may have family members, but it's a possibility that we can qualify them if they've been there for a certain amount of time.
Now, because obviously I'm sure like tax professionals are understanding the benefits of this, right?
Right.
But I also want to ask, like, what types of forms, like, what do I need? Let's say I'm a business owner. I had 10 employees. I had 5 employees. I had 2 employees on payroll, and my business struggled, right? What do I need to prove, or what do I need to give to you or to us to qualify for something like this?
So the standard forms that we would require in order for us to do the credits, to do calculations, would be your quarterly payroll summary, or a form called DE9C. And your 941s. And the reason that we request these items is to do a breakdown of what was paid out to each individual employee. Also, we want to see your profit and loss. We want to see how COVID impacted your business. There's a lot of factors, but the basic form that we need are the quarterly reports or the DE9s. And obviously, we need to know who, if any, owners are on payroll, so we can exclude those salaries.
So if I got people on payroll, say I made actually more money during COVID, and I have 1099 employees, but I have some W-2 employees, am I going to be able to factor both of them?
We can only qualify the W-2. 1099 employees are not at the moment able to qualify for this particular program.
W-2 only?
Yes, W-2 only.
And even if I made more money, I could still show a kind of way where I was affected by COVID?
Absolutely. Yes, there's a lot of qualifications, and I'll give an example. I helped a manufacturing company get a ERC. In fact, they got their check. It was over $500,000. They were extremely busy, but because the ports were shut down, they were not able to receive the raw material in order to finish their orders that they had. So they were affected by a different part of how they run their business. So that's a very vague example, but things like that. A restaurant.
How long is it taking a lot of these business owners to, I guess, from start to finish? Like, what does that process kind of look like in terms of, like, okay, I know I qualify. I did struggle during COVID. I'm trying to put myself in the position of these business owners, right? Okay. I get all the paperwork over to Armando or to myself or to yourself, and it's like, okay, do I qualify? Yes, you qualify, everything from start to finish. How long does that take to get that relief or that credit?
For the business owner to receive the check? So from my experience, the larger the amount, the longer it takes to receive. So anything under 100,000 takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Anything over 500,000 may take 3 to 6 months.
Is there a max on how much a business owner can receive?
It's not a max, but there is a max on the employees. The most I've done has been over 200 employees, but there is a max out for 2020 where it's 100, and for 21, I believe it's about 500. So wow. it is maxed out on how many employees that, but not the amount of money.
And this is something that's really big, because if you're thinking about, if you're a business owner that struggled during this time, you're like, hey, I could qualify for this ERC program. Now that gives you the opportunity to go out and potentially expand on your business. You could hire more staff. You could potentially open up a new office. You can invest into marketing. There's so many different ways that you can now use that money. And before we get into the using of the money and stuff like that, I think something that we always are trying to work on is a disclaimer, bro. So if you want to give a disclaimer out, just in case.
So full disclaimer, do your own research. Our content is intended for informational use only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any kind of investment. That's just a discllaimer out there, man. But
yeah, we definitely got to go off. Because now people are thinking like, I got an extra 200 racks,
right?
Yeah.
Right, and now I could go ahead and expand on my business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially for like our Latino business owners. También hablas español, so podemos ayudar a la gente latina. Si les puedes decir un poquito del programa, un poquito de las cosas que pueden hacer con el dinero y qué es el programa del ERC.
Okay, claro que sí. El ERC es un programa que puede ayudar a un negocio que batalló de los tiempos de COVID. Esto es un crédito para que el negocio tenga para utilizar en estos tiempos. Cuando empezó COVID había 2 programas. Uno era the PPP loan. Y mucha gente no sabe que ERC empezó la misma vez que el PPP loan, pero era mucho más fácil para aplicar para eso.
Sí, mucha gente conoce más el PPP loan.
Exactamente, pero era lo mismo. Salieron a la misma vez, pero no podías aplicar por los dos. Y cuando ya la gente se dio cuenta que perdonaron el PPP loan, ya era tiempo para aplicar para el ERC, pero mucha gente pensó que no aplicaban o que no calificaban. Lo más importante que quiero decir de este programa es que es algo que un negocio puede utilizar y usar los fondos para el negocio como ellos piensan que pueden mejorar el negocio.
¿Eso necesita ser para el negocio o lo pueden usar por otra cosa?
Cualquier cosa.
No van a preguntar.
No. La otra cosa es que la diferencia cuando el PPP loan salió, ese dinero tenía que estar utilizado para payroll.
That's a big difference.
Muy
That's
diferente.
A big difference. Yeah, that's a really, really big difference.
So it changed, like, what you can use the money for.
Yeah.
Now, what about, let's talk about receiving these funds, right?
Okay.
Is it a grant? Is it a loan? Do I have to pay it back? How does that work? How is it taxed?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's huge. So the money, we file, depending on the quarters that you qualify, and the standard filing, there are 6 amendments. There are 6 quarters that we qualify for you. So let's say that you get, let's go big. You got $1 million, right? We're going to break down. Yeah, that's a good amount.
That's a good amount.
Right. That we can play with that number.
We can play with $1 million.
Well, let's make it 5 million, right? Let's make it 5, okay? I don't have a calculator.
She's selling the dream right now, bro.
You already
Yeah, understanding how that money gets taxed is big, because now people, again, and it's something that a lot of people, it's like we receive these funds from any investment, right? Even talking about real estate, for example, like sometimes people sell a house, they got no idea that they got to pay capital gains tax.
Right.
Now, this is not necessarily capital gains tax, but it's definitely money that these business owners are going to have to pay some type of taxes on.
Yes, that is correct.
So what's a story that you've personally been through? Because I know you have a lot of experience in this. What's a cool story that you could share with us that of a business that probably didn't think they were going to get funding and then they ended up getting funding? Or it's like something, because this is life-changing money.
I have so many great stories, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about this program. I love helping family-owned businesses that have been working extremely hard for 20 years or plus, and now the kids are involved. And my favorite part is when the children encourage their parents and really explain the details of the benefits that they can get. And the kids reach out to me and they're able to set up a meeting for the three of us. I'm able to explain the program, and they feel comfortable enough to know that I know what I'm doing, that I'm here to help, and they go forward with it, and they're able to use the money to continue helping to, stay in business.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think during COVID, a lot of businesses were doing really, really well.
Yeah.
They're not doing well anymore.
Right.
It's not the
Especially
same
now.
anymore.
Right.
To talk about the economy and so forth, that's completely different. But a restaurant right now is nowhere doing the numbers that they did before. Things are, and they've been in business for a long time. They're not startups.
Well, people just aren't spending money right now.
No.
Yeah, money got tight.
People, and it's during, usually, not saying that we're in a recession, because by definition, we're not in a recession,
Right.
but you could definitely feel the tightening of
Yes.
money and of people spending.
Right.
You know what I mean? And during these times, I would even say, like, if you are cash heavy, think about maybe receiving something like this and having the opportunity now to have the capital to go out and buy businesses. Usually during down markets and during recessions and during things like that is when a lot of millionaires are made, and a lot of business owners and investors are able to pick up businesses, property, investments for really pennies on the dollar. So, this is a time where businesses really do go on sale.
Absolutely. And then the best part is where these business family owned, or any type of business, in fact, think they didn't qualify. And let's say I tell them that they qualify, let's use another $5 million, but they pay $20 million in payroll.
Right.
A lot of these companies have been having employees for, again, 10, 20 years that depend on them for their livelihood.
Right.
And for them to receive something that can help out with that is a blessing.
Yeah. Now, and that's awesome too, that you're able to like impact those kind of families there. One thing I do want to share is your story, because you're telling me a little bit about where you came from, and very interesting too. And I feel like it could be an inspiration to a lot of, especially Latino women, where a lot of us, look for other role models in the community, and I feel like you are one of them.
Oh, thank you.
So you mentioned Tijuana, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started, my first job was at a manufacturing company, and it was right out of high school, and I had started going to college, and it was an exciting time for me because it was my first job. And when I would hear them discuss that they would go to, so it was a manufacturing company that made color for plastics, but the clients were in Tijuana.
The main clientele was Tijuana.
Right. So there was the owner of the company was like, well, we need somebody to go to TJ to go turn in a sample. And I jumped up. I was like, oh my God, that sounds so much fun. I'm in a company car. I have, a company credit card, and I didn't know, I think when you have really good energy, you're always protected, right? You don't think of, things are going to happen, going long distance or to a different place.
Yeah. You're just ambitious. You just think of the opportunity.
You just want to go and meet people, and your curiosity really kind of leads the way and lights up the path. So I went to go see a client, and I remember they were like, they spoke Spanish, and my Spanish was more for, from the house, right? From family.
Claro.
And they're like, muy buenas tardes. Una pregunta, quería saber cuándo te vas a mandar la factura. And I'm like, factura? I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah. Little things like that. But that really was a big. I'm able to work with Spanish-speaking companies because of that.
Para eso. Pero ya estabas en Tijuana por como hasta 26 años, ¿no?
Yeah.
So 8 años. 16 to 28 years you were in Tijuana working.
Working.
And then you came back. That's very interesting, because a lot of people wouldn't take that risk.
No.
You left your whole life behind.
I did. And y no lo arrepiento para nada. Tijuana me trató muy bien. Viví allí por un tiempo.
Yeah.
Hice amistades que son como familia. Lo que yo aprendí cuando tú trabajas para una empresa que es mexicana, lo que sea, ellos no eres una persona de amistad. Si estás haciendo negocios juntos, eres familia. Y gracias a eso, yo utilizo ese tipo de tratamiento para cualquier persona que trabajo.
Somos familia.
Oye, y eso es algo muy grande, porque la verdad la comunidad latina, pues somos familia.
Exactamente.
Y cuando están haciendo negocio latino con latino, eso es algo que de verdad la gente latina les gusta.
Sí.
You know what I mean?
Claro.
People in the Latin families, in the Latin world, in the Latin communities, they love doing business with their own.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was looking at, I think we were reading a podcast the other day where the dollar inside of the Latin community bounces about 7 to 8 times.
I love that.
Right?
Yep.
But I think when we start looking at other demographics and other races, really, the dollar bounces like 15 to 20 times inside of their community.
Oh, okay, more.
So I
I'm
feel
sorry.
like the Latin community could do definitely a
It's
better
good,
job. Even
but
though that is
we
good.
could do better though.
We could do better though. There's always
Okay.
room for improvement.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something that's very big.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's about supporting local businesses, and then you coming from yourself. Como
Yeah.
dice que tu mamá, ¿de cuál parte?
Mi mamá nació en Nayarit, and also, muy importante, ella tiene un negocio.
Oh, nice.
Ella todavía lo tiene, un salón de belleza, que gracias a eso, y en aquí, en esta área, en Ontario, yo aprendí del tratamiento igual, you know, no más. Y otra cosa, porque somos familia, no da permiso que yo no te trate como si fueras alguien muy importante
claro,
para mí.
yeah,
No,
of course.
no, there's no room, because I think we're friends or family, for me not to give you the best service ever, you know? But I think coming from that background and utilizing the all the business lessons that I learned in Mexico and Tijuana and traveling in those parts and just the professionalism.
That's big.
And I am so grateful for that. And I'm able to, you know, give back that same type of service that I learned, you know, 20 years ago.
I do want to touch on networking.
Yes.
Networking
Yeah, that's a big
101.
one because I don't know. I heard you're the queen of networking.
I'm usually humble, but I'm gonna give myself that.
There you go.
know, I
Give yourself roses. You know?
I-
Give yourself the flowers.
I am, because I'm sitting here because of networking. I really tell everybody, you are who you attract, and I get a lot of like, wow, you're so happy, you're so energetic, and I'm like, I'm a reflection of what you are. You know, and when you're that in line, when you're in line with who you are and your purpose to try to help, the abundance of blessings of people that come into your life is unbelievable.
Okay.
And I love the way you said that, because I mean, there's just so much power in networking.
Oh, yeah.
You never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who you're gonna run into. You never know what opportunities you're gonna run into. I mean, look, we were networking, and look, you ended up here.
Yes.
We ended up on a podcast.
Yes.
Who knows what opportunities are gonna come from that? You're gonna be at the Latino Hustle pop-up event, having a booth, and we'll probably have about 200 to 300 people there, and who knows what types of business owners and other ambitious people, like-minded individuals. I mean, I always like to say, when you're networking, I love networking.
Yes.
Right? I love it and I hate it.
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
it
yeah.
has its pros and cons, right? You got to have your social battery always has to be kind of charged, but there's just so much opportunity when it comes to, when you surround yourself with people that are like-minded,
Yes.
things could go far.
That's powerful.
Yes.
Things could go really, really far. You know what I mean? And that was really like speaking about the Latino community, I mean, Latino Hustle, right? We all grew up, for example, talking about networking, like we all grew up with, maybe all the people that are going to be there grew up with Latin traditions, you know, Latin upbringings and stuff like that. And it's like, we grew up with, maybe like for myself, like I grew up with my parents' traditions, but I'm first generation Cuban, Mexican American here in the States.
Okay.
I'm going to have the ability to now share with other Latin business owners. Not only are we both entrepreneurs, but hey, now we're also both Latin.
Yes.
And a lot, you know, when you meet another Latin person, like I was telling Armando the other day, we're here in Southern California, right? So the majority of Latin people here are Mexican, which is great. I love it, right? I'm half Mexican. But I meet another Cuban here in Southern California.
It's over.
It's so I get excited. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like 1 out of 1,000 people in Southern California are Cuban, maybe. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, it's the power of networking, and it's all relationship building.
It's a connection. And I commend you guys, because I love that you're utilizing a platform to educate. And I always tell everybody, I get a lot, I don't want to go by myself. Go by yourself.
So talk about that.
Yes.
Tips.
I'm gonna
Tips
give
Tips on networking.
101.
my 3 top tips. Okay. If you're an introvert, I challenge you to go, even if you go for 5 minutes, just go. And whatever you need to do to make yourself feel, you know, confident about yourself, either it's new kicks, a new cologne, anything that you need, run with it.
Some Shakira in the car.
Yes. And even, whatever you gotta do to show up. And my tip is show up alone.
Show up alone. Why? Why?
Because it gives you, at the end, it's us. It's us by ourselves.
Yeah.
We're
At
not.
the end of the day.
At the end, it's your own thoughts, your own person. And if you can't hang out with yourself, then nobody else will want to, right?
That's a nugget.
It's like you got to love yourself before you love someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for business, like if you can't show up somewhere confidently, because when we go to a meeting, I can't be like, hey, you guys, can you come with me to close this? And you're like, why? You know, so I encourage people to show up alone. I also the second tip, show up early. have respect for, I mean, as you guys know, hosting events is very, very time consuming, energy. And my way to show respect and gratitude is to show up on time.
You also said the serious people come early too, right?
I always think that because when people, if it starts at 4 and they show up at 5:30, I'm like, I get it. We all have busy schedules and it's important, but I think it shows, a little, because and the other thing, and we've been through this, I've hosted events, and when nobody's there in the beginning, I'm like, man, what if nobody shows up?
Yeah.
What if this is a fiasco? What if, the doubt kind of plays with you a little bit. So I think out of respect for the host, of whoever's hosting the event, show up early.
Okay.
The third thing is participate in anything that if somebody says, donate a prize or, do it. Again, contribute to that event and show love to whoever hosted that.
I think though, I'm gonna emphasize a little bit on that, because the point you made was a little stronger on why you should donate. It's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
You know what you're saying? It's kind of like
Armando's dating advice.
I know. Bring it in. But it was a good point, because you're like, well, when you get up there and let's say you give like a $25 donation,
yes,
instead of buying a drink to someone, now everybody sees you.
Yes.
You don't got to say much.
Right.
All eyes are on you, and all you did was just a little bit donation, and now people are like, oh, who's that? What does she do?
Right.
And then you mentioned the what Manny likes to say, and you also, Pablo, is like, sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I was sharing with you earlier. I don't like to start off with what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I also love listening. So I'm more like, what is it that I always, I don't ever, for example, if I was in real estate, I don't start, hi, my name is Natalye and I do real estate.
Ugh.
You're like,
away
oh
from me.
man, no,
Yeah.
I already bought a house. I'm okay. Bye. And
that's the end of the conversation.
It's
though.
done.
Yeah, that's
and
key.
I think that you limit yourself when you automatically give a title instead of being creative, because every entrepreneur, some form or another, is involved with many projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you introduce yourself to many people, you want them not to put a label. And again, personal opinion. I mean, it's
no, please.
I'm not trying to say
share
like,
you
if you're a doctor, don't say you're a doctor. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying our hands are involved with anything to help people, and it happens to be finance.
So what are some examples that we could say, let's say, for a realtor, right? A realtor listening, or someone that sells life insurance, for example.
Okay.
Like, what would be a good introduction?
So if I was, into me personally, if I'm selling life insurance, I would say I'm in. So Natalie, what do you do? Nice to meet you.
Yes,
Nice to meet you.
Nice
oh
to
my
meet
God,
you.
great.
Yes.
And what do you do?
Oh,
Let's role play, right? Let's do a little. Okay. Yeah. So we walk into the room.
Yo, this is golden.
Yeah, we
I'm
walk into
loving
the room. You're alone. I'm alone, right?
Okay.
And I usually come up to the person who's I can tell already that didn't want to be there, but they're there. So
okay.
I want. That's my thing. That's how I walk. So you look a little uncomfortable. So I'm gonna go and introduce myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm an expert, right? I'm like, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. So what is it that you do?
Yeah, I'm local to the area. I'm supporting a friend.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. What do you do though? Nice to meet you, by the way.
Pleasure.
Armando,
Natalie,
pleasure.
nice to meet you. I've been in the finance industry for a while, and I'm involved with the different projects. Right now I'm currently helping with commercial lending, ERC, and grants for small businesses. So it's kind of general, but my main focus is helping any small business with financing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That is actually really cool.
Yeah. So if you know anybody, I'd love to help. I love to connect. So when you have any other questions, please,
Do you have a business card, or how do you?
I do. So you can scan it, because most people throw away business cards. So do you want to?
That's true. I'm not even gonna give you my business card then.
But I won't throw away yours. Yeah, but please.
So you have an app that you do this?
I do. I recommend using
called,
an app. It's called Pop, POPL, I believe it is. And it's about $5 a month. And I love it because there is a note section on there that automatically populates how you met the person.
So you never forget me.
Exactly. So as soon
That's
as we
funny. I wasn't
connect,
gonna forget you either.
as soon as we connect,
Wow.
then I'll have your information, and expect an email from me this afternoon or this evening.
All right. If you don't, I'm gonna call you.
Do it.
All right.
Because I answer the phone.
And that, guys, is how you network at a networking event.
I mean, it was vague, but just
that was good, though.
that's
Yeah, that was
usually-
good. That was good.
That's
Yeah.
usually how I
I'm gonna
work.
use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
use
really
that.
good. One of the things I typically like to use is when I'm networking with people, and we're at a business event, and you said something about standing out, right?
Yes.
I always like to ask people, like, what's your story?
Yes.
You know, it's more like, yes, we're here for business, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, let me get to know you as an individual.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what's your story? Where
Right.
you from? You know, what's your upbringing like? What got you into the industry that you're doing?
Right.
Right. It's like, there's a story.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I learned that from a good mentor of mine. And she always used to say, like, people always trying to size you up in the business world.
Right.
You know, it's like,
What do you do?
Okay, what do you do? You know?
Exactly.
And they're trying to immediately they got like commission breath or like, oh wow, this
Yes.
person makes a
Bird
couple
chest.
million, whatever, bird chest, right? They big old macho. It's like, man, take away all the business, take away all that. Like, who are you?
Exactly.
What's your story? What are you really about? You know,
Absolutely.
and that's something that's an approach that I typically have sometimes too. Is I guess for the people that may feel timid, they could definitely take that. Maybe they're just getting into the industry, they don't feel as confident, right?
Right.
Is like maybe you just became a licensed agent.
Right.
Maybe you just became a real estate agent, or you just got into your profession, or maybe you just simply work a 9 to 5,
Right.
which is dope.
Right.
You know, that's awesome. We know we have a big nursing community as well, right? And sometimes some people don't really like to say what they do, but it's like a way that you can network with people is saying like, hey, like, what's your story?
Exactly.
Because that's another way of
That's a good one,
fellowship.
too.
That's another way of fellowship. That's still another way of networking
Yes.
and connecting with people.
Right.
You know, so shout out to all the people that are listening as well, that maybe aren't entrepreneurs and maybe they're not necessarily in the world of, you know, networking or anything like that. Like, I think that's another approach that you guys could take as well.
I used to have a saying when I would throw my events, because I've had very, very amazing ones. And I would say, especially the ones that are like, no, I don't want to go. I don't have somebody to go with me. I go, 3 things are going to happen. One of the 3 things. You may find the love of your life. You might find your new best friend, or you might make $1 million deal.
Just by going to this
Just
event.
by going.
Because you never know who you meet.
I mean,
Say that one more time.
one of 3 things may happen. You may find the love of your life, find your new best friend, or close $1 million deal.
Wow.
It's in the power.
So having that, like, it's a win-win-win. Or if you're like you guys, because I know you guys have that energy, you'll get all 3.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about your personal life. I don't know about you may have your love of your life already, but I don't know. I'm just.
No, I said I wasn't gonna get married.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
so
Oh, okay.
Later in life.
Okay, well then, go to a
I'm just
networking
kidding.
event, right? Yeah, but
No.
those are the things how I encourage people to show up, because literally you never know,
never
you know, how your life just changes.
Yeah.
There was something that did stood out to me, just to kind of like finish the networking one, was that I think it was Pablo. We're talking about it one time, and Manny, and we're like, it's the people you know aren't gonna get you rich. It's who they know.
Yeah.
'Cause if not, you would have been rich already. You would have been making that money. But it's who they know, who they're gonna introduce you to, that's gonna expand your business.
Absolutely.
And that's what made me realize like the power of,
Oh yeah.
of not who you know, but who you're going to know.
And you know, shout out to Manny, because you know I've had the privilege, because every friend of mine I have a privilege of knowing, and he's just, his work ethic, his networking, and he's always inspiring. He's transparent. He's helping, educating. I've heard him speak so many times, and it's just been, you know, it's just really nice to for his platform to open up, and everybody is a small reflection of what he is, and it's really nice. And again, networking has been a vital role, I think, to his success, because of all the connections that he has.
Yep. Amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one. You know, shout out to
Shout
him.
out to
He's
Manny.
definitely, shout out to Manny. He's definitely done a really big job with really just training us, not only on financial services and, you know, building businesses and scaling businesses and stuff like that, but really he's done an amazing job by mentoring a lot of us here at TFA, myself included, on how to network, how to really build relationship with a lot of other, not just clients, but business partners.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So shout out to him
Yes.
and everything that he's doing. So, you know, as we wrap it up, Nat, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm sure we have so much more to come. But do you have any kind of like, I guess, finishing statements on anything that we kind of touched on today?
Yes. I think it's very important for a business owner to make the effort to research about this program. Please reach out to your CPA, to your tax preparer, to anybody who's in charge of your financials, and see if you qualify. And if not, please reach out to us. All of us here are happy to help. We just want you to get this money for your business. It's very important. And also, if you have any questions, go to a networking event. Meet face-to-face with anybody that can give you some information.
There you have it. I mean, we got some nuggets that just came on. I mean, I know that there's a lot more questions regarding the ERC program, but if you have any more questions, you've seen what it could do. You've seen stories of life-changing events. And you never know what that extra money could do for you, especially right now in a recession where there's opportunity to come. So, yeah, any questions you have, reach out to Nat. And then you can reach out to Pablo. You can reach out to I, and we'll be here to help.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're still listening, we always like it. We like to ask our people, definitely we don't charge for anything like this on this episode or anything like that yet, right? We do have commercials coming soon. We got some partnerships and stuff like that. They're in the works. But, subscribe to the channel, you know what I mean? And share it with somebody, share it with a business owner, share it with an entrepreneur that's up and coming. And really just that's the best way that you could help us grow this platform is just by sharing the podcast, liking, commenting, and giving us a follow.
You're definitely going to see us more and more about. We got a couple of things coming up, so our giveaways are getting hotter and hotter, and I think it's gonna be awesome to see our growth. So just make sure you tag us on the Instagram. Tag us, and
as always, educate and elevate with Pablo and Armando. We will see you guys on the next episode. And Natalye, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you guys on the next one.
Yo, tengo Calderón.